and welcome back. More good news out of Sudan for a change, as Sudan scraps apostasy law and alcohol ban for non-Muslims, and we have been looking for reform in Islam for a long time, for centuries, almost since it was created. Of course, anybody who wasn't Muslim or Islamic would face a threat from Muhammad and then his followers after that. So, since its inception, we've been hoping for a reform of something that is more tolerant and peaceful. And we have seen around the world over the past few centuries that, yes, these changes have been coming into effect. It seems inevitable in the terms of going for a more freedom-loving, libertarian nation, if you will, that there is a cut-off point, especially when compared to the rest of the countries and the options, that people are aware that there are much better options out there for them. And that is what we're seeing here. And hopefully this will resonate more around the Islamic world and also provide impetus for the Western world, the more developed world, to say, oh, hang on, these countries which are Islamic aren't actually as barbaric as we thought they were and aren't as strict as we thought they were. That means we don't need to be so accommodating of Muslims over here, because even in those countries they live happily and are aware that that is a better way to run society. So hopefully take the wind out of the sails of the Islamic apologists in the West, who were saying that, basically the leftists, saying that the Muslims should be able to practice their religion as was initially put into the Quran, and that everybody has to go along with that and say that their way of doing things is perfectly fine and allow them to dominate, because now we're seeing even in high Muslim countries, Sudan I believe is 97%, then they can actually still be tolerant of the minority and say, well, no, that the other 3%, you don't have to abide by Islamic law. We have the law for the country that everybody has to abide by, and then when it comes to things which can be your own choice, we will leave them to be your own choice, including, of course, leaving the religion and drinking alcohol. That if you leave the religion has nothing to do with you anymore. So it leaves you alone, instead of killing you, as the Quran says. And basically the same for drinking alcohol as well. That if you are a Muslim, then you're not going to be drinking alcohol because you're a Muslim. Whereas if you leave, there is no penalty for leaving anymore, and you can drink alcohol if you're not a Muslim. So it's very, very straightforward. So as Justice Minister Nasruddin Abdullah said, we will drop all laws violating the human rights in Sudan. A bit optimistic, but sure. Sudan has also banned female genital mutilation, and we'll wait for the ban on male genital mutilation, just like over here. Under the new laws, women no longer need permission from a male relative to travel with their children, and the reforms come after a long-time ruler Omar al-Bashir was ousted last year following massive street protests. They've had a civil war kind of situation of a few decades now, and it finally had the military coup that took over, and that is who the current government is concocted of. So, of course, we're concerned with the aim for equality will actually be subverted by a more feminist outlook and try to take down men in order to bring up women. Of course, we're concerned about that. That the idea of equality is you treat everybody equally as an individual, and everybody is free to make their own choices. Not to say, well, we've got to bring them down in order to bring somebody else up. That's not it. You're all free to do what you want to do. That is the end point of equality. It's all down to individuals. So if you want to abide by rules which were created or suggested hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago, you are free to do so, but you don't have to. And just like now, you don't have to go against the rules that were made hundreds of years ago or thousands of years ago. You don't have to do that either. You are quite literally free to choose whichever you want to do. Very straightforward. So the new law on alcohol says non-Muslims are now allowed to consume alcohol in private. However, the ban on Muslim drinking remains, because it's down to their religion. Fine. Just say you're not a Muslim. Very straightforward. Because if you are, then you'd go along with it. Very straightforward. He explained that the government was trying to safeguard the rights of the country's non-Muslims, who make up an estimated 3% of the population. They are now allowed to drink, import, and sell alcohol, instead of making it in secret. They say, we are keen to demolish any kind of discrimination that was enacted by the old regime and to move toward equality of citizenship and a democratic transformation, he said. So, this is the first public ousting that they are now in effect, thankfully. And the other changes, until now, anyone convicted of renouncing Islam or apostasy could face the death penalty, including the best-known case of Mary Bieha Ibrahim Ishag, great surname there, who was a pregnant woman after she married a Christian man in 2014, sentenced to be hanged, but she fled, and now the apostasy law has been taken down. The declaration that someone was an apostate was a threat to the security and safety of society, according to Mr. Abuldawi. The point is, of course, if you're not going along with the way that we run things, then you're going to be subverting other people as well. The response to that is, no, we actually do want people to do things differently if they're not hurting anybody else. And if they're saying we're doing something wrong, we want them to be able to say that. And then we can see, is that actually the case? Because if it is, well, bloody hell, good job. You're a great person. You've made us all better off for it. And if not, well, we're going to listen to you and then go, okay, no, not worth implementing. Never mind, you go do that by yourself. We don't care. Of course, this will take time for the cultural impact to be felt. Although, as I say, they have had a civil war of sorts and the social unease for a couple of decades, that there will, of course, be some holdouts who are more fundamentalist of Islam that will take a while to be converted, if you will, to the new change and tolerant of non-Muslims, but that is inevitable. But at least now from a state level, we can see that there is some progress being made. So until next time, as always, on that happy note, have a good one.